Good afternoon, everyone. It is Optimistically Key. That's me for Optimistically Mommy and Me Mondays, episode 4. This is Make Aware Mondays. I just want to begin by saying thank you so much for tuning in, for sharing my post, for engaging with me on this post, because it's pretty much what you put in is what you're going to get out. When you begin to share with me your stories, you're helping somebody else as well. You're contributing to the community. You may be a voice for someone who didn't even know that they were struggling, or that they could even be open or vulnerable enough to talk about the issues that they are experiencing. But you are putting yourself out there along with myself, and it is allowing other people to feel comfortable and open up and not mind sharing, or even just coming on here just to listen, so that they can get what it is that they need to help them to be a better mom. As I was trying to prepare for what I was going to say today, God just really brought to my attention what is going on in the world, and specifically the floods that just happened the past few days in central Texas, or almost kind of south in the hill country close to Austin, and all of the lives that were lost at Camp Mystic. The children there, I think there are about 27 lives that were little kids. And I thought about this from a mom standpoint, because again, you're sending your kids to camp to learn. You're sending your kids to camp so that they can become more socially aware, so that they can get different tools and things that they need, things that are going to help them on their road to adulthood. And to be able to turn on the news or receive a call, or however they were notified, to say that your child is no longer here, your child is not going to be coming home, you will never hear your child's voice again, you will never be able to see their smile in person, unless, no, you won't be able to see it in person. You can only see their face in your dreams. You can only see their face on picture and the memories that you have for them. And I know that that is devastating news, that those parents were distraught. It's imaginable what they are going through now as they are dealing with their new norm. And what about those moms who are still waiting on some type of closure, because they have not accounted for all of the lives that were at that camp? So there is a mom out there that's still hopeful that their child will be found on a tree limb, or there is that call to just say, we've identified another one, and it's your child. How devastating that is, that finite news, to know what you thought that you were doing was a good thing. And it was a great thing. The intentions were good when you sent your child to camp, but how quickly life changes, how quickly things happen, and in the blink of an eye, and in the midst of an instant, your world can be turned upside down. So it is my hope that people all over the world are bombarding heaven's door with prayer for those moms, prayer for those parents, prayer for those families who are dealing with this catastrophic news, knowing that their lives will never be the same. We cannot desensitize ourselves to this information. You cannot say, I'm not going to turn on the news, or I'm not going to watch it, or I'm just going to keep scrolling every time I see it on social media. No, you've got to sit in that. You've got to rest in that. You've got to empathize and say, that could be me. What if it were me? How would I respond? How would I feel? How would I react to the news of someone calling me, telling me that my baby is gone, that my baby's life is over. So all of the potential, all of the dreams and the aspirations that I had for them, the things that they told me that they wanted to be when they grew up, is no longer going to be a possibility because their life is now over. So I ask that you just pray to God right now. Send up a prayer asking that he touch those families, that he touch our hearts. And, if there's any way that we can help, that we can give, it takes nothing to pray. Good afternoon, Sister Eugene. How are you? It takes nothing for us to pray and to ask God to be with those families, to comfort those moms, to heal those hearts, to be with them in the days to come, because they're going to have to bury their child. They're going to have to say their final goodbyes. This was something that was supposed to be a good thing, but it has turned into something that they will have etched in their hearts forever. We can do that. We can pray and knock on heaven's door asking that he give those families comfort, that he gives those family peace. We can invite peace into our hearts and into our minds, because again, we are feeling some kind of way by hearing this devastating news as well. We're questioning, well, what could have been done? Was it a dam that broke? What was it that caused this flooding to happen so fast? And why were the people not notified? And why did they not receive ample emergency notice so that they could prepare, so that they could get to safety? So many questions that we have. But we know that God is still in control. We know that he still hears. We know that he still answers. We know that God still sees. We know that he will be a voice for the voiceless. We know that he will be a mother for the motherless. We know that God will be any and everything that we need. So we just need to go to him, and we need to ask him for his help. We need to ask him for his covering. We need to ask him to be the answer, to continue to be the way, to be the truth, to be the light, knowing that those parents need him in this moment and in moments to come, years to come, knowing that their child is no longer here. So I didn't mean for it to be that heavy, but I feel as if this is an opportunity, because Optimistically Mommy and Me is about community, and we can be that community. We can be that help for those moms. We can offer up prayers to heaven. We can ask God to intercede. We can ask him to intervene. We can ask him to come and give them a moment to smile in the midst of their devastating loss. We can be all of those things, because again, if the world had a little bit more empathy, oh, what peace we would have. Oh, what more joy we would have. What more unity we would have. So I ask that you just pray for those families, that you understand that anything can happen in the midst of an hour, in the midst of a minute. Your whole life can be turned upside down. So we just need to just have more empathy, and not just try to turn a blind eye to it and say it's too much, it's overwhelming. Because just imagine how those parents are feeling. So we just say, God, help. We just say, God, continue. We continue to trust. We continue to hope. We continue to believe. We ask that you just give peace, knowing that you are the giver of peace in the midst of calamity, in the midst of trying times, in the midst of heartache, in the midst of all of the things that we go through. So this past weekend, we celebrated Independence Day. We celebrated July 4th. We celebrated day 15 after Juneteenth, whatever you want to call it. We did that. A lot of families gathered during this time. We ate good. We laughed. We played games. We loved on our loved ones just a little bit more, because again, things can just be taken from you in such a short period of time. As you all know, my girls have not been here for the majority of the summer. They've actually been gone since Memorial Day weekend. Thank you, T. Steph, for joining in. So glad to see you on this call today. Basically, what I ask the moms to do is, if you are struggling with something, please share it, drop it in the comments. If it's something that you want me to discuss, something that you want me to ask openly, or something that you want to ask, you put it in the comments, or I'll bring you on camera if you want to share with us, because this is a time to help. This is a time to support. This is a time to hear from the other moms. Mother Eugene, you've been in this mom game for a long time as a seasoned mom. You can help us young moms with young children that are trying to steer our kids, that are trying to give them the best possible guidance that we can, knowing that we are learning this thing on the fly as we go, and we aren't going to always get it right. No, but we are trying. We're trying. We're doing the best that we can, and we need help. We need that support from you. We need that support from people who are in the trenches just like us, that have kids that are a similar age group that we have, and we are just going to lift each other up. We're going to, link arms with each other and be the help that each other needs, because we cannot do this thing alone. It takes a village to raise our children. So we have to be thankful for the village. We have to lean on the village, to depend on the village. And we have to speak up, and say, village, I need you. I need your help. Have you been through this? I'm going through this. Have you encountered this? Can you give me a word? How do you think? How would you respond? Whatever it is, this is what Optimistically Mommy and Me Mondays are for. So again, my kids have not been here, but they came to visit, right? They came to visit us in Texas for the holiday weekend, and it was a blessed time, seeing them and just hearing their laughter, getting all of the sweet hugs, the kisses, all of the things, just being in their presence, seeing their faces, because it's different when you see them in videos or you see them in pictures, but when you can touch them yourselves, and you remember, how much you have missed them, and immediately all of the mama emotions kick in, right? It kicks in from, ooh, these children are a lot, or ooh, there goes that little smart attitude that I had been given a break from these past few weeks, and all of the things. So I had like a few different encounters with both of my daughters that really just stood out this weekend that I want to share with you all this week. I know some of them, that situations that happened, I definitely, most definitely could have handled them differently, but that's what I was feeling. That's what came out at the time. Again, I am a work in progress. Y'all pray with me, pray for me. And again, help, just help. Your words of encouragement really mean a lot. Knowing that you understand, that you say that you understand, that really means a lot. Just you showing up and being on this call, that means a lot, right? And so again, with my daughters being here, the first thing that happened was with my oldest daughter. We had a playpen that we have had since she was a newborn, and it was full of toys. It was full of toys, and I just simply had enough of this playpen. And I have a lot of relatives who have babies. This is the season of reproduction. This is the season of multiplying and growing our families. People are growing up and making families of their own. And so I have a few cousins who have just had babies, or they are about to have babies, and they just so happen to be little girls. So I was just like, well, surely my kids don't play with these toys anymore, because everything in here is pretty much from when they were little. So I thought I should have checked in this playpen to see what was actually in there. But again, I just assumed that if it was not in my kids' room, if it was not on their bed, that they don't play with these toys. So my oldest daughter comes home, and they get home like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and they're excited. They are so excited to be at home, to be in their parents' presence, to be in familiar environment, back in their rooms, back in their space. And they couldn't sleep. So they come every 45 minutes to an hour into our room asking us some type of question, or saying, oh, I can't sleep, or I need to use the bath. Just something to just remind us that, hey, mom and dad, I am back. And so my daughter was looking for one of her favorite dolls, Shimmer. And I honestly assumed that Shimmer was with her in Louisiana. I did, because I know how much she loves that doll. So I thought she took Shimmer with her. She did. Well, okay, so I thought that maybe Shimmer was in the room. Again, that this is one of her favorite dolls, so it's going to be in the room where she is all the time, right? Assumption wrong again. So she comes and asks me where the bin is. And I told her, again, this is 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh, mama gave that bin away. Immediately, the tears streamed down. My daughter can cry. She can cry some crocodile tears, and she can cry instantly. And the whole world is crumbling. Yes, the whole world is a situation. And Shimmer was in that playpen, and she said, Mama, you gave away, and she just means so much to me. And I'm thinking in my head, oh my goodness, baby, I'm sorry. That's the only thing that I could say. I'm sorry. I did not know. I did not know. I told her, what I'm telling you, I thought that you had Shimmer with you, because I know that you love her so much. And she didn't. And, I tried to console her the best as I could. She was standing on the side of the bed. I told her to get up there in the bed with me so I could just rub her back, and try to calm her, because she was crying hysterically. Again, this is my daughter. She cries hysterically about almost all things, but in particular about Shimmer, because she really does love this doll. She is attached to this doll. But I'm thinking, why did you take it? But again, this is a 45-year-old thinking versus a 7-year-old. And I have to realize that too. She's like, I'm gonna leave her here because I'm coming back. This is my home. She's safe here, so I can leave her here. But I was not thinking that way, and that's me. That was my mistake. That was my bad. And I told her that I apologized, that mommy did not mean to do it. Of course, I would not give your favorite doll away purposely. I did not know, and this went on for quite a while, and again, you just expect things to just be normal, because they haven't been here for so long. You just expect everything to just be so happy, because we haven't seen them for almost 2 months. So you aren't expecting something like that, and you definitely aren't expecting something like that to happen within the first few hours of them coming home. And it just so happened to be mama's fault for these tears and this meltdown. So again, here goes the mommy guilt, and me feeling bad because I messed up. I did something wrong. I've hurt my child, and there's absolutely no way that I know to fix this situation that I have caused, because of my thinking that it's not on the same level as a kid. But eventually I did get her to calm down, and she did. And then the other people did not know that this was going on. So when it was time for everybody to wake up, they began to ask about Shimmer, because everybody has heard about Shimmer. And I'm like, please don't ask about Shimmer. We don't need another meltdown. But Chloe just said, Mommy donated her. And I was so glad that she said that she, she was okay with it at that point, because I tried to explain to her, good morning, Miss Price, how are you? That, not every child is as blessed as she is. Not every child is as fortunate as she is, where their parents can buy them things, that they can have tons of dolls and various things to choose from. and that they, whoever received that doll, she needed him, that she needed that doll, because she doesn't have the same the same life pretty much as Chloe has. She doesn't have the same she's not afforded the same things that she has. And so I try to tell them those things early, and I talk to them just like that, because I want my kids to be aware. I want them to be socially aware. I want them to be mentally aware, of cognitively aware of different things that are going on around them, to know that they are blessed, to know that they, do have a good life, to know that their parents do work hard to take care of them, and that we can replace things. No, she'll never have another Shimmer, but she can have a doll that she's grows fond of, and she can give her a name like Shimmer, and she can be Shimmer's little sister. But not everybody has that. And again, another thought just crossed my mind, where we have the big beautiful bill that just passed, and is going to be cutting people's benefits like SNAP, like Medicaid and Medicare. And those parents are already at a financial and economic disadvantage. And to be able to take those things from them, and they're going to be going back to school, that may be the only meals that they get is at school, and the SNAP covers that, so that they can have those free meals. And you just think about the devastation, and it's like a domino effect, and it just goes a ripple, and it just goes on and on and on again, because parents don't have access. Not everybody has access to daycare. Not everybody has access to be able to afford to take their children to the doctor, because they don't have the insurance, or they're living in a rural area where it takes 45 minutes or an hour just to get to an appointment. There's a lot. There is a lot to compact. There is a lot to deal with, because we have just been hit with so many things that are going to be so devastating to a lot of families. And again, we need to empathize. Our heart needs to go out to them. Our prayers need to go out to them. We need to learn how to give more of, in whatever way God is asking you to give, whether it's your time, whether it's your talent, whether it's your resources, whether it's your voice, however it is that He is asking you to show up for others. It's about community. It's about helping those and bearing the burdens of others, those who can't give, those who can't do, those who aren't in a position to help themselves. Everybody doesn't have the education that some of us just on this call that are tuning in on this live have. They don't have the access to things. They don't have the people. Maybe they don't have the village who they can say, can you help me with this? Can you watch my kids with this? Can you take my child here? Or I don't have the money. My food stamps don't come to the first. It's the end of the month. Things are short. Do you have any extra? They don't have access to go. They have things different places that give out free food during the week, but they don't have cars to be able to go to these places. And Meals on Wheels is for the elderly people. So many things. So many things. But again, that is why I'm thankful for this space. I'm thankful for this community to just put it on the forefront of the things that we need to be thankful for, of the things that we need to be mindful of, and figure out how we can come together and support and do more, and to help, and stop just letting it be about us and our little families, or our immediate families and those in our circles, and learn to, just spread that love, just spread those love, and just be thinking about people who aren't in the position that you are in. Because I guarantee you may be saying that life is hard for you right now, that you are going through your own struggles right now. But if you look around and you start talking to people, you'll realize that somebody is worse off than you. Somebody has a tougher road than you. Maybe you are saying that you are not mentally able to deal with certain things right now. We all are going through some type of battle. We all have our things that we are dealing with that sometimes we don't even openly voice because we're afraid of what others may think or what they may say. But I'm here to say right now, if you are mentally unstable, if you are battling mental illness, there are resources. There are free resources. There is EAP with your job. I've used it, because again, you got to be well for you. You got to take care of yourself. Self-care is just so much more than just getting your toes done. It's so much more than getting a massage. It's so much more than getting extensions in your hair. You got to be good mentally for your kids so that you can show up for them in the best way, so that you can spend time with them, so that you can tell them how beautiful they are, how strong they are, how talented they are, how confident they are. But if you don't believe those things about yourself because you haven't addressed them in your childhood and it is still manifesting in your adulthood, then how are you going to be good when your child struggles with those things, right? So you got to be well so that you can be well for other people. And again, I don't mean to be all over the place and feel as if I'm jumping topics, but I got to give it to how the God is giving it to me. I got to pour it out to you how he's placing it on my heart. I've got to be obedient to what he is saying to me, because somebody on this call is in need of the word that I am sharing, or somebody is going to share this live with somebody else, and it is going to be an on-time message for them. So I calmed my daughter down. We made it through that episode. That was number one. So then again, the next thing that we had, our kids are just exposed to a lot, and you can try to filter certain things with your kids. You can try to monitor what they watch on YouTube or TikTok, and you can try to send them to certain schools and feel and keep them in church and feel as if, okay, they're getting good guidance, and they very well may be. But I tell you, they are exposed to a lot of things that you just have absolutely no idea that they are even thinking about at such a young age. So again, back to my 7-year-old daughter. Her aunt came to me and told me about they talk, and my kids are very opinionated, and they don't mind sharing their views, and whatever comes to their mind, it most likely is going to come out of their mouth. And that goes to just show you that they know a lot of things and they don't know a lot of things. They're confused about a lot of things. So you've got to correct things when they begin to speak on things, and not try to shun it and not try to sugarcoat it, but just tell it like it is, and, hope that they'll get it or understand as they get older and they continue to mentally develop. So I didn't know that my daughter knew about homosexuality or being gay. But she said to her aunt that she thinks that she's gay because she has friends that are girls. And the aunt came back and told me, I immediately had to call my daughter into the room and have a discussion with her. And again, this probably wasn't handled the best way either, but this is how I knew how to fix it at the time. So my daughter last year, when she was in kindergarten, she had a crush on this little boy. And she would always talk about having this crush on this little boy. And we would always say, you're too young to have crushes. Do you even know what a crush is? And she would say it's when you like somebody. So she understood, that he was a boy and that she was a girl. And she liked him, right? She liked him. And so I had to go back to that example, because I said, Chloe, remember the little boy, I said his name, that you had a crush on in kindergarten? And she said, yes. I said, well, that means you're not gay because you like boys. right? You like boys. I said, you are a little girl, so you're supposed to have friends that are girls. I said, mommy has friends that are girls too. And I began to name who my friends are. And I said, but I'm married to your dad, because again, that's the only way that I knew to explain to her in that moment, to let her know, no, baby girl. First of all, I don't even know how you even know about being gay, but we're gonna nip that in the bud right now. We're not gonna claim that. We're not going to say that you like the same sex. Let me just go ahead and feed what God says. God says that life is supposed to be man and a woman. And I know that there are choices that we make in life and we go on different paths. But at 7 years old, that is not a concern that you need to have. So again, we got to be careful what we show our kids. We got to be careful what we expose them to. We got to be careful what we tell them is right, is a right way of living. Just because, it's good for us, it's not necessarily good for our kids. It's not, because they ingest everything. They analyze everything and they try to figure out everything, and they start to try to apply it to their life, even if they don't have the full understanding of it. So again, talk to your children. Apparently there is no age or a age limit to where you can begin having those conversations, but you don't want them to get some misinterpretation from somewhere else. You don't want them to get their education from somewhere else. You want them to hear it from the parents, because teaching starts at home. We have to teach our kids what is right according to what God says. And have I always done things that are right? Absolutely not. I still mess up. I try to do what is right in God's eyes, but I fail because I'm human. I make mistakes. But praise God for his grace, his mercy, and forgiveness. But here's the thing. We cannot ask God for forgiveness and then we turn around and do the same thing again and again. You aren't remorseful. You don't feel bad about your behavior if you're still living a life of sin, right? If you're still doing things that we know are displeasing in his sight. So I know that's not the only conversation that I'm going to have with my daughter about it, and I know that was probably not the best way to handle it, telling her, oh yeah, you do like boys. You like this boy right here. And I'm going to have to go more into depth with it. But again, I was just trying to quickly address it to just show her, no, you're not that way. You're not that way, and it's okay to have friends as girls, to have best friends. And then I asked her, well, who are your BFFs? And then she began to name them for me. And I was like, see, they make you happy. They are your friends. You're going to get even more friends over time. She began to name even ones from daycare. You've always had friends that are girls. So don't start thinking that it is something wrong with it now. And I'm not saying that there's something wrong with you if that is your sexual preference. That's not what I'm saying either. What I'm saying is we got to be careful what it is that we show our kids. We got to be careful what we're exposing them to. And we've got to be careful to make sure that we're checking in with them to get their understanding of things, because we want them to understand. We want them to understand. We want them to be knowledgeable so that they can make good decisions, right? And so then I had to get on my youngest daughter. They were acting. It was just a lot of things that happened in 2-3 days. It don't take long. It does not take long for different things to happen. So my youngest daughter, she came home with this yes and no. But the funny thing about it was she was saying yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am to everybody else but her parents. And I was like, hold up. Not the ones who raised you. Not the one who brought you into this world. Girl, what's wrong with you? And then she started doing this thing where she was pointing. And she would do her lips. She was just all this personality was coming out. And I just really had enough of it. I had to give her a good popping a few times. And she was so upset. And she wanted me to pick her up, my 4-year-old. She's a big 4-year-old. But I did. I loved on her, but I had to give her some love in another way, to let her know, wait a minute, you are getting beside yourself. I understand that you've been gone and you've been living your best life in Louisiana, but we have rules here. And you know what those rules are. And mama will break you in and get you right. You understand me? And I just had to break it down to her like that. I'm your mother. You will respect me. You will say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, because that is how I have taught you to respect your elders. And you definitely are going to respect your mother and give me the honor that I deserve, right? You're going to give me the honor that I deserve. And so, like I said, I had to give her that love. Again, I hadn't seen them in almost 2 months, just for a couple of minutes last month. And I was trying, to not be in that full discipline mode, but I had enough. And I had needed to let them know that you're not going to be able to just get away with all of these things. I got to go ahead and check this and nip this in the bud right here and there, so you can get your mind right and act like you have some home training, right? You act, again, I don't always get it right. There are some things that, again, I have probably felt as a mom. It is learn as you go. It is trial by error. But that one thing, I needed to stop right then and there so she could do what she knew to do. Or if she didn't, there were going to be consequences for it. Because again, there are consequences to our actions. So she felt better after I loved on her a little bit. But I needed to let her know, we don't play that. We don't do that here. We do not do that here. So again, and then she was all right. She was good for the rest of the trip. But the oldest one, my oldest daughter, she is a very emotional child. And I have noticed she's always been emotional. Pretty much since she has come out of my womb, she has been an emotional child, wears her emotions on her sleeve. Again, I told you she cries uncontrollably, hysterically, all of the things. And she was crying because she wanted to go pop fireworks, but she was saying that none of her shoes fit. So I gave her some shoes, and she cried about those shoes. And I said, look here, do you want to go pop these fireworks, or do you not? Do you want to stay in this house with me, or do you want to go out there and have fun with your family? Which one do you want to do? Because if you do, you're going to have to put these shoes on that you're standing too tight on your feet right now. It's only for a little while. You ain't going to be out there running. You just need to go stand while the fireworks are popping so you can enjoy the show. And then you come back in the house and take them off. I talk to my kids just like that. Look, we give lessons around here. There's no baby talk. I don't have babies. My kids are 4 and 7. They're young kids. But they have great understanding because we've always talked to them like little people, and that is how we treat them. So she finally calmed herself down after that situation and went outside and enjoyed the fireworks. I don't know if she paid it. The shoes were tight, but it didn't stop her from having a good time. And that's what you some of these meltdowns we just can't give into. Because it just be so much. It's so much, and it's overwhelming, and it causes my anxiety to go up. It causes me to be on edge and all of the things. And I'm just like, yes, teaching moments can be difficult, but they must take place. Thank you, Miss Price. Thank you so much, because I totally agree. And I thank you for sharing that, because that's the way that you worded it was perfect. And I needed that, and somebody else needs that. And I'm actually going to write that down, because there are going to be some other times when I'm going to have to make some decisions right in that moment. And I'm going to have to say, this is what must be done for the greater good for all of us involved later in life. It may hurt right now, but it is absolutely necessary. So at this moment, like I said, at this time, I love to hear from other women, other moms, Last episode, I actually had a dad on the call who was sharing with us some things that he was struggling with parenting his mom. So that's another relationship, another dynamic that we deal with as we have aging parents, all of the things. So if you have anything that you would like to share, something that you are going through, or if you just have any words of encouragement, Miss Carolyn, if you have any words of encouragement that you would like to share, just like the one that you just shared, please share another one. Because again, it's helpful. It's helpful to us moms out there knowing that, that we aren't going to always get it right, but we're doing a good job. I think that that's what we need to be reminded of. We are doing a good job. That doesn't mean that you're going to make 100 on every single test, but you've got to keep going. You've got to keep trying. You've got to give yourself some grace as well. And I'm speaking to myself. We have to give ourselves grace to say, I didn't, do that exactly right this time. I didn't get it 100% right, but there'll be another time. There'll be another time when I can try. There'll be, something that we can learn from this together. Isn't that right, Miss Barbara Perry? That's something. Some of us are growing up with our children. I feel as if as my child grows, I am growing too. I'm learning things. I've never been a mother before, right? I've always been on the receiving end of that, giving my mama a lot of angst. I remember, yes, I did a lot of things that I was not supposed to do. I did not always obey, when she told me to do certain things. But I thank God for her not giving up on me, but also for her giving me over to God, for just saying, I'm going to put you in his hands. I remember her saying that because, she was like, I pretty much can't do anything with you. I was a handful, and I know that. But she gave me to the one that could help me. She gave me to the one who could direct me, who could heal me, who could steer me where he wanted me to go. And I want to encourage you moms that as well, to know that you give your children over to God. That's what it means when you Christian your children. It's not just putting them in a cute white outfit and having a ceremony and getting a certificate and having a dinner afterwards with your family. You're saying, God, you gave this child to me, this child that I prayed for, and I am giving them back to you. I'm trusting them in your care, Lord Jesus, and asking that you help me to watch over them, to teach them as best I know how, and just to have my heart and my mind open to receive words from you so that I can hear what it is that you are telling me, to impart that wisdom to them. Miss Barbara Perry says that teaching moments to me is mandatory. Amen. This segment was needed. Well spoken. Thank you so much for sharing, Miss Barbara. I do this every first and fourth Monday at 12 p.m. on Facebook Live. And I'm just so thankful that different moms chime in every single time. And I thank you for your words of encouragement, because they are definitely needed. Because again, there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot that is happening in the world today. There is a lot of chaos. There are a lot of things that are trying to be overturned, rewound back, But we know who's the one. We know the one who sees. We know the one who knows. We know the one who is in control. We know the one who has his hand in all things, that allows things to happen, who said in his word in Matthew that these things would happen. So we know this is just prophesying and doing things that must take place, right? But we have to keep our hands in his hands and trust that he's going to take care of his children. Has he ever forgotten about us yet? He says that I've never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging for bread. Have we ever gone without? God continues to make a way. He continues to open doors. He continues to provide. He continues to heal. He continues to restore your broken heart. He continues to replenish. He continues to renew. Go to God. Go to God and ask him for whatever it is that you are struggling with. Ask him for whatever it is that you need help with. Ask him for whatever it is that you need deliverance from, whether it be a smart mouth, whether it be a potty mouth, whether it be a bad attitude, whether it be a quick temper. All of these things, I struggle with them all. Yes, I do. I struggle with them all, but I believe that God is working on me day by day. These are learned behaviors that have been with me 45 years. So it's going to take some time for them to be overturned, but I'm trusting and believing that God will, that he can, and he's going to do it in his time. God can do things in an instant. He can do things in an instant. He can turn things around, make things be for the better. But we got to go to him. We got to call out to him. We got to ask him for his help. We keep trying to do things on our own. We keep figuring out as if we know what's best for us. No. God is the way. He's the truth. He is the light. He knows us. He's our creator. He formed us when we were in our mother's womb. He knows what is best for us. So we've got to ask him to help us, to walk with us, to lead us, to guide us with our decision making. Absolutely, with our decision making and the things that we show our kids. And I say this, you know, with myself in mind, because I know that I don't always show them the best behavior. I don't always show them the best version of Nikidra. I fall short a lot. Yep. And I can admit that. You know, I'm not perfect, Patty. Absolutely not. I'm not perfect, Patty. That's why I started Optimistically Key, because I was like, you know what, I need some help. Let me start to talk about the things that I'm struggling with. Let me talk about the things, you know, that I'm battling, that I'm going through. Let me open up my mouth. And the help just started to come, you know, and I started to feel better. I started to feel as if the burdens that I was carrying was being released from me, you know, because we wrestle with spirits. We wrestle with things that are higher than ourselves, not flesh and blood. So we've got to know that there are things that are working against us, that are trying to attack our families. Excuse me. The devil doesn't want to see healthy, thriving marriages. He doesn't want to see that. So he attacks the mom and the dad, you know, to get us to be in discord, you know, and our kids see that. And they're probably saying, well, I didn't grow up seeing a happy family. I didn't grow up seeing a loving relationship. And that probably might deter them from marriage. That might deter them from understanding that you got to put in work, you know, that nothing comes easy, that you have to work for the things that you want. And it's not going to be cakes and roses. You're going to go through some turmoil. You're going to have some valleys. You're going to have some times where you want to throw up your hands and say, I've had enough. Even with kids. And it's okay to say that your kids get on your nerve, because they do. Why? Because they little yous. They have your personalities in them. And then they have their own, you know, because they're their own little people. So sometimes you are parenting yourselves because they act just like us. But that should help us. That should help us to say, well, again, that is one of the reasons why I started Optimistically Mommy and Me, because I was like, I didn't get these things as a kid. Not because, you know, my mom was a bad mom. She didn't know. She didn't know a lot of things. She didn't know to talk about things. She talked about them. She didn't do preventative things. It was, oh, we're in this situation right now, and this is how we're going to approach it. And you can try to say, I'm going to take the proactive approach, and you're still going to be surprised. You still are going to get surprised by some things that are going to happen, because you just can't prepare yourself for everything. But you just say, God, be with me. God, help me. God, help me to stay strong. Continue to strengthen me. That's what we have to say as a mom. to just ask God for his help, for his guidance, to give us the words to say. Every time I get on this live, I ask him to just speak through me, to move me out of the way so that I can be of help to somebody else, and to let you all know that you are not alone. You are not alone. This parenting thing, and it is okay to bounce ideas off of other people, and you will find out that their struggle is just like yours, because there is nothing new under the sun. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your words of encouragement. Thank you for your words of advice. Thank you for your prayers. I just thank you for engaging and just being on this live today. I pray that it is helpful. I pray that it is informative, and I pray that you can go back to it and refer it when you are struggling with something, and know that God is an on-time God, that he sees, that he hears, that he knows, and he is going to continue to take care of his children. Remember to be in prayer for those lives that were affected, those families that were affected by the floods, the people who will be affected by their Medicare and Medicaid getting cut off, by the SNAP benefits getting cut off, that they will continue to be fed, that the free meal programs will continue to come, and that they have access to be able to go and get those resources that they need. Even if that means they have nurses that are on campuses at the school, so if the parents don't have transportation, then maybe they can get the care and the medicine that they need through the schools. I pray that you all have a blessed day, and thank you so much for being a part of this community.